And welcome inside the Backstage Pass TGIF. And I think we all can say those letters every day of the week and looking forward to the weekend here. And of course, good high school football there last night in Louisiana. So that's why we didn't have any shows yesterday. But of course, back today with a couple here for you here on this beautiful Friday. Of course, a little bit of rainy here in Texas, but we're getting some storms that we sorely need here. And presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey. So with these storms, good time to grab a glass of Bangtail Whiskey at bangtail.com or Easy Liquor on the app out there too and get it sent to your door. Don't even have to leave your house. You can drink at home and drink in the confines there too. And of course, our friends at Honky Tonk Texas. You can check us out, powered by the Sports Guys Podcast.com, and of course out there on HighTideCountry.net. Always try to find new talent here, and on Friday I've done that too with both ladies coming on. Julia James coming up here in a little bit, but pleased to welcome here Taylor Sweely to the show, a Texas recording artist. What's going on?
Hey, just happy to be here and not doing mom stuff right now. So thank you for taking me away.
It's always good. Like I said, dad stuff too factors into it. And I'm like, you know what? She's at school now. She'll probably be there till 5:30. So pick her up in a couple of hours so we get a chance to talk some music and have a good time. Well, first, I know all about you because like I said, I did the research and wanted to talk to the audience, but I love hearing about how you guys got started in music. And of course, from a young age, people say, it ran in the family. And then later on, we didn't catch this till later on in life when I picked up a guitar at like 13 or 14. So everybody's story's different from that musician standpoint. When did that bug and that kind of that feel moment go, you know what, this is going to be a career?
So career-wise, probably not until later in my life, about 21 or so. Mm-hmm. But as far as like that passion of singing, that started at the age of 2. And my mom's got it written down in my baby book the day that she thought that I would be a singer. We did this Mommy and Me class called Kinder Music, which full circle, I now take my daughter to that as well.
There you go.
But we went around the room and had to sing a part of the song. And I guess I was the only baby that like sang it on pitch, and all the moms just kind of turned and were like, what? So she wrote in my baby book that day that I would be a singer. And sure enough, she put me in church. I started singing in church. I did talent shows. I did little plays. I just never stopped, basically. But it wasn't until I was about 21, like I said, when I decided, this passion isn't going away. This dream isn't going away. Why not try to make a career out of it? So I started gigging around Dallas. And then, I took the last 2 years off to stay home with our baby and just put out this new song. And it's kind of my, jump back into this thing.
Well, first of all, you can belt. You've got some vocals that I've seen some of the videos and stuff out there too. And I think I caught one that you were, I'm trying to remember what song you were doing, but man, it was one of the recent ones that you did. And you impressed the living crowd. I was just like, she can really go after. I think it was a Lainey Wilson song. You might've been doing Watermelon Moonshine.
That was it.
I was like, you know what? She's got something that's out there. And I saw the reactions to it. I started talking to people and putting the comments out there like, it's a star in the making here. And it's right here in Texas near Dallas too, which is fantastic because I spend so much time in Nashville, that's part of the show here, featuring artists. It's so good to get back to the Texas roots here. So growing up, tell me about just did you like to write? Was poetry kind of influence? Was writing songs? Did it come natural or did you not like to write?
No, it's not something that I ever even attempted until I became a mom. So I'm 30 this year. It took me 30 years to be like, you know what, maybe I can. And so I literally just attempted it. And the song, Why Not, came out of it. That's the very first song I'd ever sat down to try to write. And I did it all by myself. No one would help me. I called people because I'm like, what do I know? This is my first one. I don't know if this is good. And everybody was just like, no, we don't want to touch it. Like, it's great. So.
Well, it turned out great too. How did the idea come about? Was this more of just kind of like, going through life and, as the song says at the beginning, take care of the husband, take care of the kid and take all that kind of stuff. And then how did it just become naturally? Was it something that you got to go through an experience and kind of had that epiphany and went, you know what, I'm going to put this down on paper and get a hook book and tell us about how the arrangement for Why Not came together.
Honestly, yeah, it was like, let me look at where I'm at right now in this season, which is I'm pretty much trapped at home all day with a toddler. I don't get out much. I don't do much. I feel like I'm just in the season of serving everyone else. And so I needed to remember who I was as well. And who I am is a singer. And so why not write about, that? And also I developed a love for wine during this season of being a mom. So honestly, it's just true to where I'm at in my life right now. And I know that it relates to several other moms out there, both working or stay at home. It doesn't matter. But the process was honestly, I feel like it was a God thing. Just, I went up to the balcony and was like, you know what? I'm just going to try. Literally, the words just fell out. It was so easy. I wrote it in like a night. And then as far as like what I heard musically, I just kind of sung what I heard in my head and made a voice memo, and that was it.
I always love to talk about the artwork. The photo is fantastic. You got this old kind of classic car that you're just kind of like leaning on with that windshield there, and you got the kind of the white boots kind of sticking out in right there, and it's just kind of a cool. Tell us how the photo came about for the single.
So that was interesting. I don't know if y'all have heard of Montana Silversmiths. They do all those belt buckles for the rodeo and stuff like that, and they have a bunch of jewelry. Well, I was asked to like stand in with Cafe Anderson. I don't know if you know him.
I think I've heard the name.
He's a Dallas artist as well, but he was putting out a new line of jewelry, and they asked me to stand in with him and get some photos taken. And so honestly, I just used one of those. And then we, photoshopped a little glass of wine that I'm holding there, but you can't tell.
You can't. You got to really so you got to pinch it, got to blow it up to go. You know what? This is where's that glass of wine here? As I'm looking at this thing here on the photo too. But that's a cool story of how that came about, because I always loved the artwork there. So growing up, before I take the first break here on the show, growing up as far as musical influences, was it like just a little bit of everything?
It was, and specifically Celine Dion, which I know that's so different and it's not country, but that is who I first heard at a very young age. And I got her CD and I learned every song, and that was who I practiced singing with. And so then it was later on that I picked up, like the Faith Hill, which I feel like she's just the country version of Celine, honestly. So Faith Hill, Jody Messina, then I picked up all my country roots from there. But yeah.
And I'm sure like instrumentation, talk about this, because I know right now people say, we're teaching ourselves guitar. We're trying to pick us up. Now, I never could have the patience to play guitar. That's just not my alley when it comes down to it. My kid wants a guitar now, but I told her, I said, you know what? You got to stop sucking your thumb. So we'll have to get you braces. So then buy you the guitar, because you got to have both hands to play the guitar. And she gets all mad when you tell her, get that thumb out. And then at the same time, she's like, well, no guitar. And she has a fit over it too. For you, and where I'm going with this, not to be funny, and I'm not comical in any way, but at the same time, I see the music side kind of running in my family, because I did play it like in a high school band for me, because I loved it. Some people did choir, and others, just kind of dabble with garage band type stuff and really stayed around it. You mentioned kind of coming at the age of 30. For you, have you ever dabbled in picking up instruments? Is it something that you want to do with the future now, playing guitar or playing any instrument for that matter?
I grew up playing piano. I was in lessons for about 8 years. Come to find out, I was not reading any notes. I was just doing it by ear. Wow. And so my mom was like, what are we paying for? And honestly, I hated it. But, you hate it as a kid. If your mom's making you do something, then you're just like, okay. So I dropped that. I wish that I was put in guitar instead of that, because that would be so valuable for me right now. I honestly hate that I have to rely on someone else, to book gigs. But at the same time, I am I care so much about how my vocals sound that I wouldn't want to do anything that's going to take away from the focus that I have on that. And I do think that's okay. I know like Lauren Elena doesn't play and Carrie Underwood doesn't play. And that's kind of what I kind of see is like, I'll probably be that type of artist.
When you saw that too, Sunday night, I was watching that with the whole Sunday Night Football, and Carrie's been doing that for a while, throwing out the big anthem and stuff like that. That was the first time I think anybody had seen, well, at least for me, and I can speak on behalf of my opinion, but like taking the drumsticks and like beating the drums, that's why
I have been doing that lately, and I love that. And I do feel like if I was seasoned enough, like give me a little bit more time to get comfortable, then I'm sure then I could play around with some other things.
I know some of that could have been produced at the same time, production or for television. It's made for television graphics or whatever. But at the
Yeah.
same time, CGIs, whatever they call them. But it's
Yeah.
cool to just see, and I'm with you on that too. Just the singles are so good that you don't want to take away from anything that you're doing vocally too as well. We'll take a timeout too. Do I have to? Yeah, I guess I have to here on the show too. I got to pay some bills here. Our friends at Bangtail Whiskey and of course Honky Tonk Texas. More with Taylor Sweely here on the Backstage Pass, and of course coming up here a little after 4:00. Our friend Julia James is going to come by. She's got a song she's working with a group that you might remember in the past, Love and Theft. They came on the show here a while back. And a big song called Angel Eyes, Stephen Parker Biles, and of course Eric too as well. We may be joined by Stephen. He flew into San Francisco today, but if not, Julia will be here, and we'll talk about Rivers, which is her new EP coming out here, I believe, in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about that. More with Taylor Sweely here at hightidecountry.net and our friends at the sportsguyspodcast.com, and of course live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube out there. Coming right back. Stay tuned.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass.
And, of course, next week we're going to take off Monday and Tuesday, breathe a little bit, too, take a little time there. And, of course, getting ready for that Josie Music Award. Pleased to be nominated there for Media Company of the Year. Myself, Kirsty Krause. Ceremony going to take place October 22nd. I won't be able to be there, but my publicist, Sherry Cranford, will be there, hopefully. And if we win, she's going to accept it on our behalf, too, at the same time. Thank you, Josie Music Association, for everything. And for believing in independent artists like our guest today, Taylor Sweely. And I'd love to be a part of something big. It really is. And it's all about chasing your dreams. And that's what she's doing here on the show, again, presented by Bangtail Whiskey and our friends at Honky Tonk Texas. You mentioned, we talked about Carrie and a little bit of Lainey Wilson on fire now with these CMA, these nominations coming up. And really the last 2-3 years, ever since Things a Man Ought to Know came out. What's your take on this movement now for the female industry, for female artists in the country music industry? Because I don't think we've seen anything like this in a good 10, 15 years before the last really probably 4 to 5.
It's so encouraging. I mean, oh my gosh. And I love that she's bringing that true sound of country back, because that's also what my aim is to bring that traditional country sound back. So yeah, I mean, she is paving the way for people like me later on down the line to do the same thing, hopefully.
Yeah, and definitely you mentioned all the attention to Jody Messina, making a comeback in the 90s country that I grew up with, that I love so much. And just all Terry Clark and Shania Twain and Faith Hill, you mentioned there too, all the greats that paved the way. And I got to meet Crystal Gale. Was it last year? I actually saw Crystal Gale at a concert, talked to her for a little bit too. And she's still out there playing. I mean, most of the greats, they're always hanging around. And that's the cool thing about the industry, is just when you're great, you're never going to fade away. And I love this song. And this song really just is really throwback 90s country. Do you get that a lot for Why Not? Because at the same time, you mentioned how it came together easy. But for me, I was like, this is like, and then you put the instrumentation with it when y'all got in the studio, and you had to be happy with the product coming out from the production side too.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, and that's what I told production. I want it to sound like 90s country. That's my vibe. That's what I'm going for. And they killed it. I mean, the way that they put it all together was mind blowing. And immediately I was just like, okay, I'm ready to do 10 more of these now. This is so fun.
Speaking of what's next, now this came out July 14th. So we're sitting on it now, a couple of months into it. And it's doing real well for you. Congratulations on that. And I hope it gets pushed to radio if it's not already, because this is from a former PD myself, program director for a station. This is a top 20 country song, no doubt, top 15. And that's just for somebody who has a good ear in the industry. And that's why I wanted to get you in here to talk about this song. What's next? As far as you mentioned, 9 more. Here, people say 15 more, 20 more. Musicians never rest on their laurels. There's something next coming up. We're looking at more singles and EP, something down the line. Tell us about that.
I need to get out there and play again. That's what I'm itching to do. I need to get a band together. Honestly, I've never sung with a band, believe it or not. I've only done acoustic shows. So I need to get those under my belt. But then at the same time, I'm writing more songs behind the scenes. I'm doing some co-writes with some really cool people in Nashville. So I'm kind of getting my ducks in a row behind the scenes, but also planning to get back out there and get some shows going.
Keyword you mentioned there too. I love that, the playing, getting in front of people, stage presence. Do you feel like when you get on stage, is there going to be, because you seem like a natural performer in front of the camera. At least I've seen the videos out there. Now, I know different from a crowd, but does stage fright worry you a little bit, or do you feel like you're just going to go out there and just smash it?
I get very nervous working up to it, but something happens as soon as I step foot. I become a different person. I feel like I just become that person that can just take the crowd, hold them right here, and finish it out. So the only thing that I ever like worry about, I guess, would be like, what am I going to say in between all my songs? I don't more so worry on like, how am I going to sing it? It's like, what am I going to impromptu say? Because I want to be funny and I want to be witty and all these things. So, but I still feel like as soon as I get out there, I get it done.
Which is that's what people that love that too, because they'll sit there and they buy, just like we were talking to a friend of mine who went to a concert here in Beaumont this past weekend. They saw Parker McCollum and Jackson Dean, who I got to meet in Nashville a couple years ago. I've had Parker on the show. Great guy. Great to talk to too, as well, as big as he's doing right now. But it's just cool to see them get up there and just natural. And I think too, what's great about concerts now is you've got support acts out there. And so if I feel like if you catch on with a Texas artist, Aaron Watson, Parker, something like that, open for them.
Absolutely.
That's something in the long term.
Oh, for sure. And I've actually done that before, prior to even being like an actual original artist. When I was a cover artist, I've opened for Whiskey Myers before they were huge, Stoney LaRue, a bunch of Texas artists, and it was like so awesome for me. So I know that I've done that before. I can definitely do that again. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and I see you catching on pretty fast there with that too. Again, I love this single. Why not? Because it just tells a story. It's beautiful. The lyrics are there. Hits home. Like I said, a nail going through a roof. It is smooth, and definitely it's one of those songs that goes down well with a good glass of wine or a good glass of Bangtail whiskey. See how I did that here on the show?
There you go. I was hoping you would.
And we can do whiskey, we can do wine. They do whiskey, of course, out there too, guys. You got to try it out. It's good stuff. Bangtail.com or easyliquor.com. Don't have to worry about the old liquor stores and going there and trying to find it, although it's invading the Texas market soon there too. Great distillery out of Orlando, Florida. And of course, Live Oak in Nashville. We get a chance to go up there for CRS every year and cover a country radio seminar. There's going to be more of that coming up over the next few years with myself and Kirsty. So we advise you guys to get a little bit of that Bangtail whiskey. And also, too, if you want to do something this weekend, Silsbee, Texas, down here. I've heard of a place, Honky Tonk, Texas. They have a lot of great performances there. HonkyTonkTexas.us there for the weekend schedule coming up this weekend, too, as well. More with Taylor Sweely, and coming up here in a little bit on the show, Julia James, of course, Love and Theft out there. She's working with a new single called Rivers, which is out across all the digital platforms. The final segment with Taylor coming up here on the show. More here again presented by Bangtail Whiskey and our friends over at Honky Tonk, Texas. A word from them, and back in a flash.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Murrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass.
And of course, next week we're back on Wednesday. You got to tune in to find out who we have. And of course, Colby Acuff is going to come on. He's got a great, fantastic album now too next week. And our good friend Marigoto is actually coming back here on the show next week here on the Backstage Pass 2. Back here with Taylor Sweely coming up here in a little bit. Julia James will talk about her relationship and her work going on collaborating with Love and Theft out there. And we'll talk about a song called Rivers. I believe the song is Rivers or the EP is Rivers. I'm going to clarify that here in a little bit on the Backstage Pass, again, presented by Bangtail Whiskey and our friends over at Honky Tonk, Texas. All right, this is a fun segment. I love doing this. Turn something into just a lot of fun and have the fun here on the show that I like to do. So you mentioned not getting out much. I know where this is probably going to go, but I got to ask it anyway too. Do you get a chance to make your favorite food when you're stuck at home or do some cooking? Do you like cooking? Is that something you enjoy doing?
I
Not
don't
really.
enjoy cooking. It's
Right
just
there with
another
you.
chore at this point.
I'm right there with you. I don't enjoy it either.
But I like me some pizza.
Okay. All right. What toppings go on your pizza for Taylor?
Oh, I'm so boring. I am a child. I eat like a child, so just cheese.
You know what? I've noticed lately that if you order it, make it, whatever you end up doing, get it out. That plain cheese is making a comeback. We talk about 90s country making a comeback. There's
That's
some people
right.
getting some cheese pizza back too. They just plain, to hell with the toppings. I just want plain cheese, and I want about 3 slices of it and a Coke, and I want to go to bed. That's just how I feel sometimes out there too.
Totally.
All right, growing up, what speaking of just shows and things out there, what cartoons did you get into?
Ooh, I don't know about cartoons, but I definitely watched, Barney.
Okay, yeah,
He was my favorite.
it's on everywhere. Yep.
Yep. And then as I got older, Lizzie McGuire
Okay.
and
Yeah.
all of those Disney Channel shows. I'm a 90s baby.
We can start doing that. I'm right there with you too. We can start singing those songs. What is it? Well, I won't do the Barney song, but I know you can. You have something to say. A big dinosaur come over, give somebody a hug too at the same time, and that was my grandma. She used to come over and say, "Yeah, you're watching Barney, baby, and I'm gonna give you a big Barney."
Oh, well, you know what's so funny? So I literally was obsessed with Barney, and we lived in Georgia at the time.
Mhm.
And when we moved to Texas, we actually moved to Parker, Texas. I don't know if you've heard that town.
I had not heard of that town. Oh.
Come to find out, Barney was filmed in Parker, Texas.
Really?
Yes. And my mom was like, if we lived here, I would have had you on that show. So I would have been on there just like Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato.
I love that. I can see that originating too. There you go. Educated something on what we didn't know right there too. And I love that. Parker, Texas filmed some of the Barney episodes filmed there. How about that?
Yeah.
You learn something new every day on this show. All right, let's say if you took home one of the big lotteries right now, what would you do? Cash option. What was the first thing you do with the money?
Ooh. Probably help out our family somehow, whether that's like pay off their homes,
Mm-hmm.
probably buy some land. I know that's very valuable right now.
I'm right there with you with the first two too. I do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Invest, give,
Mhm.
obviously tithe the first 10%. I mean, I should have said that first, but so sorry.
Pay yourself. Well, I tell you, some people say, "Hey, I put a band back together, put the band together, have my crew there, get me a tour bus, schedule a tour."
I'll do that too.
Get the money to all that and just go and make what you can and put it back in there too. That's the cool thing about doing something like that too, which I love. All right, do you remember the first song you ever sang live on stage? And it could be a cover.
Man. Well, it was when I was a kid and it was in church.
Okay.
So it was a Jesus song.
Okay.
But then first one back on stage, like ever gigging, I think it was A Good-Hearted Woman.
Ooh, there's one we hadn't heard in a while when it comes down to it. I love that. When you look back at 90s country, who would you say was the biggest female for you that had the biggest significance from the 90s country era?
Faith Hill. Just because I relate to how she sings.
Mhm.
I feel like we have a lot of similarities in the way that we sing and the passion we put behind it. You can really feel it. So
I love that. Now you mentioned, you're still young in your career. Now I'm the one getting old here because I'm only 43, but young in your career. So I've got the make or breaks now with this podcast, no doubt. But from a musician standpoint, and this kind of fill in the blank one too, and you're actually going to be the first one who's answered this one. So I just was messing around with some new questions today, and I said I'm going to ask this one. They say Nashville's a 10-year town. Some say 15.
mm-hmm.
The next 10 years, Taylor Sweely wants to accomplish what?
I would love to have an EP under my belt, or just as many singles as I can and then condense it into an EP. But I'd like to have been touring, even if that's opening for people. Either way, the ultimate goal is to make this my full-time career and actually make money doing it and help my family out with that. So that's the goal.
Well, we're going to be talking a lot about that because you and me have some of the same goals. Mine is in the media side of it, podcast area. And I've actually talked to you about some of this already, which is cool. I'm always going to support you as an artist. Your dreams are huge. I love this. You're chasing your dreams. And I think it's fantastic too. And I know for me, one of the best things I ever had was to have a daughter to share this with now that she understands it more. She'll always say, daddy radio, daddy TV, or something like that. And I'm like, no, honey, we're building this for you. And one day you can take this over and do what you want to do with it. But
That's right.
at the same time, you're just going to look up to you as a mom. And of course, as a singer, songwriter, great human being, which you are. And I think this song is on the first of many to come out to. And we're going to be talking through the next few weeks, and I'm ready for the new stuff to come out, and I cannot wait to have you back on here too as well. And thank you so much for doing this with me today.
Well, thank you so much. It was an honor.
Taylor Sweely here. Why not get it out there across all those digital platforms? Look out. There's a superstar in Dallas, Texas about to ignite and definitely take off to the moon and back, and then some too as well. Look out for the I was going to use the astronaut thing, but I was like, you know what? We're just going to say country music singer catching on with an Aaron Watson or someone out there on tour and blowing it away, no doubt about it too. If you get a chance, check out her videos. Go check her out on social media, Instagram, and look at that one she did at Lainey Wilson's watermelon moonshine out there too. We're back here in a little bit with Julia James on the show. We'll talk to her about the relationship and the collaboration, how important that is in the industry, and of course her collaboration with Love and Theft coming up here with a song called Rivers, and an EP coming out here in a couple of weeks to another fantastic artist. If you don't know about, you're going to find out about here in a little bit as we do the Texas two-step on the Backstage Pass presented by Bangtail Whiskey and our friends over at Honky Tonk Texas. We're back in a flash here thanks to Taylor and, of course, everybody that put it together. And you can check us out at hightidecountry.net and our friends over there at the Sports Guys Podcast.com. Back in a flash here. It is the Backstage Pass. Stay tuned for more.